Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar event. Welcome everybody to our Merging 1099s webinar event for Church Windows. This is an event that basically is kind of rare for folks, but it does happen for some percentage of our users. But it's an important function that is important and is necessary, and that folks see how it works. But there is no printed document for it. We may work that up at some point later. We're here to talk about merging 1099s. This is really essentially a follow-up. It's a follow-up video or webinar to yesterday's event on the processing of 1099s, okay? Sometimes, and like I said, it's fairly rare, is that a church or user will pay some contractors in accounting, they'll pay some contractors in payroll. It's now time to process those 1099 forms. We don't need to pay Atrix 2 times if we're e-filing. We don't need to print 2 1096 forms, you know what I mean, and then manually move the information or combine it from one form to the next. This is one of the reasons why we've taken on and used Atrix. Is this interface with them allows us to merge 2 different groups of contractors, one in accounting, one in payroll, into one print run, one e-file run, and print one or e-file one 1096 form. It's really great. It's honestly this is one of the reasons why we've taken them on. And, you know, you've pretty much all of you see where that function comes up. You just don't know how it works. That's what we're here to look at today, okay? I also like to say this just happens to be in one installation of Church Windows where you can merge 2 groups of people or contractors in the 2 different databases together. But this function also works if you have, say, 2 different installations of Church Windows on one computer or network, okay? So folks are probably scratching their heads going, well, what kind of a situation could we possibly see this in, Josh, where we might have 2 different databases that we need with 2 different groups of employees or contractors? And it does work for W-2s too, folks, okay? So to the simple answer to that question is, say a church, and we see this a lot, is the church has one installation of Church Windows for the church's database, and they also have a second installation of Church Windows for, say, maybe a preschool or a daycare or some other organization that falls under the same tax ID. So all of the tax documents need to be merged together, but they maintain them in 2 separate databases, say for reporting purposes, you know, for accounting or what have you, okay? So that's just one very simple example of why a church might have 2 different installations, yet still have to merge the employees or the contractors together, and Atrix does now allow that to occur. Okay, we've done this over the past couple of years. This isn't something they've just introduced. This has been in their interface or been in their system for quite some time. Okay, in our case, it doesn't frankly matter where we start the process of the 1099s. Okay, and the reason, I'm sorry, I should follow this up by saying the reason why we're doing this in our database here is because we don't produce W-2s from accounting, only 1099s, okay? So there isn't any way to kind of show you how to do this for W-2s and W-3s because I don't have 2 separate installations. W-2s can only be processed or printed from payroll, not accounting. So we're using this in 1099s today because this is the one that is best suited for our database setup, okay? All right, so again, doesn't really matter where I start the process, all right? So if we go into accounting, and you've got to have folks 2624.0, well, we want you to have that. If you're wanting to process payroll for 25, you've got to get this 2624 version installed on your computer, okay? It's important for tax documents too, and for Atrix, but if you have questions about that and you're unsure, please let us know, 800-533-5227. All right, so it doesn't matter where we start. So let's start in, say, payroll. So if I go into payroll, I'm going to go right up here to reports, tax forms, tax reports, and tax forms. It might do a quick Atrix update for you. If you do, you can click yes on that. If you're cloud, you can click no because we're ensuring you've got the correct and updated forms. Okay. This, like I was saying on yesterday's event, it's for some reason it takes a little longer in this updated version to load the actual tax forms, but we're just going to be patient and wait for them to come up. So it is defaulting to 2025. So this process in both accounting and payroll is no different than you normally would, okay, except when we get to one specific screen, okay? So we're going to choose 2024. Here we're going to choose our 1099 NECs, non-employee compensation. Reporting period is any. Don't need to change that. No, don't have to select anything over here to the right, and we're simply going to click print. So this now is, again, it's opening up the 1099 process. And again, it does take maybe, I think, a little bit longer than it has in previous versions. We don't really have any choice. We've just got to wait it out until the actual next screen comes up for us, which we will patiently do. I mean, I can't speed it up no matter how hard I try. But as we are going to see, the forms, the pages here are going to appear exactly the same way that they do in accounting. So right here, no thanks. I'm not doing the test drive. I'm not of either 25 or any of my recipients. I'm going to do no thanks, start processing my 1099s and 1096. So I'm simply going to click next. After choosing that, it's the default. Verifies my TIN, my tax ID number, and it's right. I'm going to go ahead and click next. Here is where we're going to be making a different selection than we would normally if we were just doing this on one in payroll or accounting, but not both. So let me get out my highlighter. So we're down here, and we're going to change this from no, right here, up to yes. I use multiple data files for this company. Okay, so I'm going to change that from no to yes. Okay. Yesterday on our event, we did no because we were just producing the 1099s from accounting or from payroll because in our example was the example was we were paying them in one database, not the other, and not both. Okay. So now we go next. It's now going to open up, and it's going into Atrix, and it's feeding that information in there because it's going to open up a different window now. So this one, notice in our upper left here on the banner says multiple 1099 data files. Okay. If we notice here, it even has retained the ones that I did for my webinar event that I did back on January 24th of 2024. All right. The Atrix is really good about retaining history of things, and this is one of the reasons why we've used them. Okay. So I'm in payroll now. All I'm doing here is I'm going to click Save. Save the process 1099 data file for use in a combined filing. So I click Save once. It tells me the name of the file that it's going to create. And I tell folks, make a note of it. Pretty simple. I mean, honestly, what I look at is the last three or four digits. So in this case, 30808, and click OK. Okay. And it does its gyrations, and now notice it adds that down here to the list of available files at the very bottom, right down here. Okay, so notice it does actually provide a date, the date that it was saved. So date saved was 1/16/2025, and the period that I'm wanting and how many recipients are included in the file. Okay, so I'm not doing anything else here. Sure, I can export the process data file as a password protected file. I'm not doing that. I can import data, 1099 data processed from another person. I can switch back to single if I need to. So if you decide, okay, I'm going to get wise next year, avoid this, and I'm going to pay all of my contractors in accounting, or I'm going to pay them all in payroll, you just have to tell the system, switch back to single. It goes back to the single data file and doesn't look for two. Okay. So we're not dealing with any of those. We are going to use merge, but we're not going to use that now. Okay. So the file in payroll has now been created. I'm being asked, am I allowed to rename the file? Teresa, I don't have an answer to that. I would assume so. It gives you that ability to do that. I think it's just an algorithmic file that they create because this is being saved, if I'm not mistaken, into the Atrix software folder on the computer where the work is being done. I think you can, but I don't know. I've never tested it. Good question. So we're done here. Payroll is finished. All right. The file has been created now as far as payroll is concerned. So we're going to close now, cancel. We can minimize or close payroll, and we're going to go back to the home screen, and we're going to jump into accounting now. Okay. So now we're going to go up to reports and export and tax. And we're going to begin the 1099 processing for 2024 in accounting now. Okay. Even though I'm in the year of 2025, it doesn't matter. The Atrix is looking only at 2024 totals and data. So now I choose my year of 24 again. Here are all of my forms, choosing my 1099 NEC. Click on print. Here are my contractors. These two, Michelle and the Weber Family Singers, they're my contractors. Again, just a simple reminder, folks, that if the amount that is here is showing under amount paid is wrong, over here to the right side, I can enter an adjusted amount. Okay. Again, somebody who's like, well, why would we have to adjust the amount? Well, maybe I'd reimbursed Michelle for something that wasn't considered pay, yet it's included in her amount paid for the year. Church Windows doesn't differentiate that. So I can just come over here to the right and enter the adjusted amount if that's the case. Okay. But it's not. The correct totals are correct. So I'm simply going to put a check mark next to those two contractors and click OK. Same thing now. It's opening up the Atrix interface and beginning the 1099 creation process in accounting for these two contractors. I simply happen to have two different contractors in each database. And we're going to talk about more of this as we get near the end in terms of just some slight differences between those files. But here it's doing its thing, and it's going to bring up the same page. No thanks. Start processing my 1099s. Verify my TIN. Next. And here we are. Yes, I use multiple data files for this company. Literally that simple. Now I go to next. It opens the same window with those three. There's my 0308 or 0808 that I created in payroll. I'm now going to go up and click Save to create my accounting file. Here it is. You know what? We could test this. I don't know if it'll accept numbers or letters, Teresa. But let's try something. Let's try that. See if we can do that. Sure enough, it looks like we did. Sure. Yep. So we can edit that. Now, I don't know if it'll take alphabetic characters or only numeric, but you clearly can do that. Maybe they would allow you to put the date on it or something. In either case, it's now created those files. Good question. Now we all learned something. So now we're going to put a check mark just next to the two that we're wanting for 2024. And now we're going to click Merge here to the left. Again, let me get out my highlighter, draw some focus. Checking the boxes here and right here, clicking the Merge box. Button. Sorry, it's a button. Okay. Let me get rid of my drawing tools here. Now click Merge. It's asking me now, warning me. It's saying, have you included 1099 data files for all recipients in the filing? It is important to have all recipients included now for combined filing. You will not be able to add another 1099 data file to the merged one. So we're good, but that's certainly something to pay attention to. Click Yes. It's now starting the merge. There's file 1. There's file 2. It's very small, not going to take long. Now click Continue here in the bottom right. Now it's actually going through the actual process of creating my 1099s and 1096. Verify my payer information. All good. I am filing for my company employer. I am not a transfer agent. Verifying my state tax ID or withholding information and account numbers. Again, nothing I need to worry about. No state or local items. I have no one receiving the 1099 forms electronically. I'm also going to leave my Social Security numbers or tax IDs untruncated, and we're going to take out or not show RINs. Now it's actually feeding the information into the Atrix spreadsheet now. Okay. And now we're going to see all 4 of our recipient names. Okay, 2 from payroll, 2 from accounting. Here it is. So it's preparing the employee detail, review and edit, print and copy, and report submission. Okay, I'm going to click OK through that. And here are my 4 contractors. Okay, right here. Now, this is one of the things that we're still working on or developing is the 2 contractors that I have from payroll. It does import their first and last name. Accounting doesn't yet have a first name, last name field, so this doesn't populate that. I have to fill these in, okay? If I don't and I try to click next, it's going to eventually bark at me about that, okay? Recipient first and last name required. Go back. This is what we didn't really get this yesterday, was go back and correct. There is no continue without correcting on this. I have to fix this, all right? I can't just breeze by it. I've got to go back. So my first one I'm pretty sure is Michelle Russell, so we're just going to click under last name, and we're going to type in Russell, tab over, Michelle. Now, if you don't have the first and last name, you'll have to get that, okay? So this is Weber, and we're going to type in John. And if folks, if you may need to contact somebody to get that information, I don't have any information for you as to tell you what the legality is, what is required in that. It's because it does populate on the 1099 form, okay? If you do have DBA information, it is going to populate on the form as well, okay? But now I'm going to continue to click next. And it's just moving the blue bar here in the upper left corner from left to right. So it's kind of doing its check. It's saying there are individuals with identical information. Click OK to remove the identical information. And it's going to be OK. I'm going to click OK on that. It says if the TIN is a Social Security number, first and last name are required. If the TIN is an EIN, either company name or full name are required and will be retained. OK. I mean, I can still look and see what it is. Okay, so it took out the duplicate information. So in this case, it didn't need Joe Greenthumb or Michelle Russell because that was the same information in both fields. So that's what it was basically telling us. So we go to next, next again. Nothing's coming up. We're still continuing to move across. It's doing its check. We're eventually going to get to the end. Excuse me. Click next one final time. It's now past the check. It's now telling us this is our final opportunity to review or edit employee details. We're going to go ahead and click agree. We're not buying anything here, but we do need to click next to get to our forms. Here, folks, and again, we kind of covered this yesterday in yesterday's webinar, is where you're either choosing to e-file with Atrix or you're going to print or e-file with other options. So in order for us to print, we're going to choose other options down the left-hand side here. Again, let me steer some focus right here. Other options right there. It defaults to this one up here under complete. Okay. Again, Atrix wants you to use them. So we're not going to use them today. So we're going to choose other options. We're going to click the first checkbox, print recipient 1099 copies. I only have 4. I'm going to uncheck e-file and federal and state. I'm now going to check print federal and click OK at the warning. Click print state, click OK at the warning. Again, basically reminding you about how there's more requirements by federal and state authorities for electronic filing. Still allows me to click OK through that. Now I go to next. Again, I'm not buying anything, so I'm not checking any boxes. And going to next. Here's the report of the 5 forms that I'm about to print. I can print it if I want. It's your choice, folks. As I said on yesterday's event, I'm big on Post-it notes, writing on it what the forms are and the groups of forms, since they're often several pages in some cases. Next. Now it's opening the actual official documents. And again, even if I choose to e-file these, it will put all of the contractor information together and on our 1096 form. Okay, so just by way of a friendly reminder, folks, the banner in the yellow banner in the upper left, right up here, is where all the information is providing you as to what that actually is being produced. Okay, hopefully everybody can see my arrow there, poorly drawn as it is. So right here, it's the federal 1099. So I will print this. I'd send it. No red paper is required. You click OK and send it to your printer. Okay? Plain paper. All right? I'd grab that off the printer. It's the old format. It's the one that goes with the 1096 now. Okay? And then when that's grabbed that off the printer and it's good, I now go to next step. It now goes to federal 1096. I could put a post-it flag on there, post-it note on that, but that's pretty obvious. Print final, send that to my printer again. No red copy is required. Print it, grab it off the printer. Okay. Once I've verified that's printed successfully, next step, my recipient 1099s, the 1099s that I will distribute to my contractors. All right. So again, click print final. It says, please insert 4-part perforated forms. Folks, you don't need those. If you have them, great. Albeit there might be some alignment issues with those, but you don't need to. They can all be printed to plain paper and distributed. Print them. Again, don't click next step until you've grabbed it off the printer. 4 pages, all 4 of my contractors, 1 contractor each page. Next step, the church's record copy of the 1099. So there's only going to be 1 page, so 1 contractor in each corner. Print final, and print it to plain paper. Send it to my printer. Don't click next until you've grabbed it off the printer. And finally, when we click next step, opens up the NEC instructions. You are required to print this and include this with each one of your contractors' 1099 forms. So print final, send it to my printer, make sure I've got 4 copies of it, and then include that with their 1099s. And then when we click next step, it now takes us back to the Atrix 1099 history options. Okay? It shows recipient, federal, and payer copy completed on 1/16/2025 for all 4 of my contractors. I can correct completed 1099s if I want here. I can e-file or print incomplete. There aren't any. I can reprint completed forms, or I can start over if I wish. But we don't have any of that. We're going to close. Now the forms as I've printed them are now going to be listed here under my history button to the right. Okay? So basically, folks, it's just creating a unique file that you're asking Atrix to look for. So, so we can merge those 2 databases together, essentially, those 2 data files. And as you clearly saw, it's a fairly simple process. And again, if you've got accounting or payroll with 2 different Church Windows installations for 2 different groups of employees, you can do that with W-2s too. Okay? So just be aware, it's very handy. And I think, we don't have time to cover this today. I don't have anything in the data that supports it. But I believe there's even a way to merge duplicate vendors or payees information if you've got them entered twice and paid twice. It'll even allow you to merge them down to one record. And if you can, it's really simple to edit that as well. So, all right. Well, that, folks, is where we are going to leave our topic for today. If you have questions, please type those into the question portion of the Q&A portion of the Zoom control panel. Well, I know those questions sometimes can be lengthy to enter. Folks, this will be out. The video will be out hopefully later on today, or if not, sometime tomorrow on this. If you have questions, please reach out to us, 800-533-5227. If you email us, support@churchwindows.com. We simply ask that you include your church's customer number with us so we can record your support question and our support history with you. This is, as far as I'm aware, this will be our final webinar event for January. We are working on February's events. Question came in. If we are use Atrix, are they considered a third-party provider? I'm not sure, Sharon, third-party provider with regards to what, but probably not. I mean, you're responsible for ensuring that the information entered is correct. They do have support that backs you up, meaning if there's something that's like really, really glaringly, inaccurate, they're going to correct you. But I don't know about that. Honestly, that may be something that you want to contact the Atrix folks about. You can find their contact information at our website, of course. We go to churchwindows.com, right up to our more and our partners. That's a good question. Now go down here and click on Atrix eFile, and right up here under support, here's their support contact information. There's live chat, there's email address you can email them, there's phone numbers you can contact, but I would contact them and ask that question. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. You're very welcome, of course. Cheryl, if you only use accounting for paying contractors, can you e-file with Atrix and have them e-file, but you print and mail the forms? Yeah, of course. Yeah, Sharon, when you choose that other options back under that, when we're processing the forms, doesn't matter where, if it's in accounting or payroll, doesn't matter. When you get to that one after the spreadsheet that says complete e-file, if you change it down to other options, those two e-file options below that are just to e-file the federal and state forms, but you print and mail the actual forms to your contractors. Yes. So yes, but just be aware, they're going to charge you $27.99 minimum, and depending on how many you have, I don't know if that maximizes that for you, because if you choose to e-file and they're going to charge you $27.99 for 8 or 10 different 1099s, why not spend the same $27.99 and have them mail them for you? So you'd have to see what each one offers. Because if the $27.99 includes them mailing them to them, I might just do that, so just a thought. So check that. You can click on either, rotate back and forth between those buttons on the on the selection page of either complete e-file or the print forms option. So yeah, explore that. And then you can e-file from there as well if you wish. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in, folks. I hope this has been helpful. If you have questions or problems, please reach out to us. Let us know. We're happy to help. We're very busy, but we're getting to folks within typically maximum of about 2 hours now. So not too bad. but we will get to you. If you're just patient with us, we will get to you eventually. But I will end the webinar for everybody, and I do hope that we will see everyone at another future Church Windows webinar event. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.